number 89766, second degree murder. Second degree murder. Full term date is life, not eligible for a good time. Parole eligibility date 8/1/2020. That sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Monsieur, tell me what are you currently doing? Where are you working? What are you doing?
I am assigned, sir, is the offender clerk for inmate affairs, and that is with Mr. Swear and Ms. Prejean, is their clerk, and that is what I'm currently doing, sir.
Okay. What if you were able to be released today? What would be your plans? Where would you go? What would you do?
Currently, sir, my primary plan is to go to the parole project. They have a fantastic reentry process, and they will help assist me finding employment in the Baton Rouge area. I do not have an actual job plan at this point, but because of their success, I'm very confident with the job skills I have that employment won't be a problem.
Okay. How many discipline write-ups have you had since you've been incarcerated?
I've had one that was in 1984 for disobedience.
And how old are you?
I am 59 years old, sir.
How long have you been incarcerated?
42 and a half years, sir.
Okay. How old were you when you committed this crime?
I was 16, sir.
And tell me about that. Well, I want to think back. It's been a little while. You kind of your state of mind. Were you using drugs? Were you what caused this this crime to occur? This again, a heinous crime to occur.
Yes, sir. There's no excuse for what I did. I was making some extremely bad decisions. I was running with the wrong crowd. I was being a rebellious teenager. And ultimately that led to a big uproar, my skipping school and all with my family, that I ended up running away from home. And I was using marijuana at that point with the crowd that I was running with.
And so what happened? You left home and you ran away. How did you come in contact with the victims? I mean, tell me about the crime. We've all been rebellious. I was rebellious. We were all rebellious as youngsters, but didn't reach that level. So can you tell me a little bit about the crime?
Yes, sir, I can. I ran away. I was just crossing the bridge separating Mississippi, Louisiana when my car broke down. And Mr. and Mrs. Holt stopped to offer assistance. I was standing by the road and I got into the car with them. Ultimately, we couldn't find a tow truck or anything. I was getting edgy and panicky, and I decided to rob them for their car. And very, very just tragically, I panicked and ended up shooting them both, killing them. Like I said, there's no excuse. And, I can't express in enough words the remorse and the shame and the guilt that I feel behind what I did to that family. And there's no excuse, sir.
And so you're saying that you panicked trying to steal their car, and that's when that occurred.
Yes, sir.
That's a statement that you've kind of been consistent with.
Yes, sir. Because I ultimately decided to rob them, to steal the car, pulled the gun on them, and panicked, and ended up shooting both of them.
So they picked you up on the side of the road. Then how did this occur?
Yes, sir. I was broke down. They stopped to ask if I needed any assistance. I went ahead and accepted, got in the car with them. We stopped at a gas station, stopped at a parts place, and there was nothing available because the time of the evening went back to their home where Mr. Holt was trying to call some places. And at that point, I decided I was going to rob them for their car and try to keep going because I was getting panicked. And I just totally lost it. It's like I ended up panicking all the way and shot both of them, sir.
And so what caused, back when you're back house, what caused you to panic? I mean, you got in the car with them, you drove with them all the way home. Why being back in the house? What caused you to panic?
And running away from home, I had set a little plan, so to speak, where I was going to live with a friend's real dad. And I just didn't understand or know how to deal with this plan just falling apart when my car broke down. And again, there's no excuse. I just, that's why I just can't explain why I did it. I panicked. There is absolutely no excuse for what I did.
Yeah, you got to, obviously you have a lot of opposition. You'll hear from some of that today. It's that's, you're right. I mean, that's a terrible crime, terrible situation. Again, I'm just trying to get to the facts, information that you have. Did you make a statement back in 2007 that they tried to do something to you in the house, or was that, is that not what I read?
Yes, sir. There was incident there, and I'm not trying to cause anybody any more pain. The
I'm trying to find out the whole scope of it. What happened? That's what I'm just trying to get to.
Yes, sir. I went to use the phone, and Mr. Holt jerked the phone out of my hand. I took it as he,
and then you panicked at that moment.
Right. That is when I absolutely panicked.
Okay, what kind of skills do you have if you were to be able to be released? What are you going to do? I mean, I know what you told before, but what type of skills? What can you utilize now? You've been incarcerated for 42 years, and you've had one discipline. Obviously, you've done very well. I would assume you have some type of skill.
Yes, sir. I am through DOC certified as a paralegal. I have done extensive clerical work, which including being a receptionist, even to the point of being managerial or assistant managerial level. Also, I've worked for a period as a laundry operator. That skill's available to me. And over the years, I've picked up through facilitating the substance abuse, the pre-release, the cage of rage programs that I could be a counselor. So those are some of the job skills that I bring to the table.
Okay. And you obviously what year did you get your GED
in? In 1981, sir.
And you have any advanced education beyond that?
I do, sir. When opportunities presented themselves, I've taken part in college programming. In 1992, I participated in the Northwest Missouri Community College program. And then I think it was in 2010 to 2011, we were offered an opportunity to earn general studies degree through River Parish's Community College. And I participated in that until that programming ended.
Okay.
I've got about 33 credit hours of college.
Now how many?
I think it's about 33.
Now you still involved in any type of substance abuse, NAAA, anything like that?
Yes, sir. I help facilitate our AANA meetings here. We just finished a living sober study and currently are in the middle of a 12 and 12 study. So besides facilitating, I also participate.
Sure. All right. Mr. Swear, you have any input for us?
Yes, sir, Mr. Kelsey. Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. John has been an offender assigned to State Police Barracks for 28 years. Multiple assignments, usually assigned to positions with a high degree of responsibility and trust. He's been successful at all of those assignments, including when he was assigned to my office, help the operation here. And it's kind of a catch-all. He's responsible for a large number of things. Has done all of them very, very well. He's been an asset to our facility. I think he's a very good candidate.
Right, thank you. Right, that's all I have. Mr. Alvin Roche, would you like to have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Kelsey. Good morning, John. How are you?
Good, Mr. Roche. How about yourself, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. John, and I'm not going to stay here very long. When Mr. Kelsey asks you for the whole story, you should give him the whole story. After you murdered the Holtz, you ramshacked the home, you took the credit cards, you changed the license plate from your vehicle and put it on theirs so you wouldn't be detected. And you were caught in, I think, Colorado because you were using their credit cards for expenses on the way to the West Coast. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yes, sir.
So when someone asks you for the story, give them the whole story. You panicked, but you had enough calmness in your mind that you knew that you would need money. So you took their credit cards, you exchanged license plates, and you headed west. So that took a degree of calmness for you to think ahead of exactly what you needed to facilitate your escape. Now, you have excellent community service. Tell us about some of the community services that you've done over the last 42.5 years.
I've been involved in a lot of things, and the parts that really stick out to me is my work with the at-risk youth. I wanted to try to get across to them somehow, some way, not make the same terrible decisions and cause all the pain and the grief that I had. I worked with a program with the JCs called Operation Threshold, where we bust in at-risk youth to the rodeo grounds. That in turn led me to work with another gentleman. We created the Juvenile Awareness Program that proved to be very successful. Once I made a trustee, I was able to be a tour speaker, and that allowed me to talk with everything from middle school through adults in telling what I had done that was wrong and the pain and how it could change a person's life in a heartbeat. That's some of the things. Today, it's helping to facilitate programs that we have here. It's coordinating events and activities to benefit the compound and the offenders here. That's some of the things that I do, sir.
Okay. And I also want to commend you on your excellent disciplinary record. One disciplinary write-up in 42.5 years. That's outstanding. And I read your mental health evaluation in its entirety, and it showed a lot of maturity and rehabilitation, which is two of the things that we look for when we have a parole hearing. Now, let's talk about your transition plan. Your transition plan is not acceptable to me. As a victim advocate, I must think about the victims, the hosts, who are adamantly opposed to any early release that you might have. And the farther away you are from the state of Texas and Louisiana, the better it is. So do you have an alternate transition plan?
Yes, sir. I have secured residence, and I have support from both my dad and mother who are in Florida. That is my secondary plan. They will help assist me in trying to find employment. I will have a place to stay. So I do have a secondary plan. I was kind of hoping to go through the parole projects plan, but by the same token, if that is something that I need to do, I'm more than willing to do, because I do not want to cause the Hope family any more pain or cause them any more grief.
And that's my position also as a victim advocate. And I understand that you will be living with your father, and he might have some employment for you already.
Yes, sir. That is.
And your mother also lives in Florida.
Yes, sir.
Would that meet with, so that is possible?
Yes, sir. Very much so.
Okay. Have you started any work on the interstate compact to Florida?
I have not at this point. I was looking at the parole project as the primary plan, but that's not a problem in doing the paperwork to get that process started.
Thank you, John. Mr. Kelsey, I have no further questions.
Okay, Ms. Renatza?
Thank you, Mr. Kelsey. I don't have any questions. I just want to congratulate Mr. Siri on his excellent prison record. That's
Thank
all
you,
I have.
ma'am.
All right, we'll hear from Mr. Andrew Hunley.
Good morning, Andrew Hunley, Executive Director of Louisiana Parole Project. Obviously, you're aware that we come before you today in support of John, and our organization has stood by John for quite a while now, based on his success. Since he's been incarcerated, we have a high degree of confidence in John's ability to be successful upon release. We do offer our reentry program to John. It was formulated for individuals who've served long prison sentences since they were young, like John has, and we have a very great success record with our clients who are juvenile lifers when they went to prison. To be frank, John's more than just a client to me. John is a friend of mine. I should start out by saying I did not know John in 1978 when he committed these tragic crimes. Frankly, I was not even born yet in 1978. As you are aware, I was a juvenile lifer before my parole project days, and John is someone that I met during my incarceration and my time at State Police Barracks. As I said, I did not know John in 1978, but I do know him today. And when I think of the standard that was set in the Miller and Montgomery decisions, and the juvenile lifers that I have known during my incarceration and those that I've worked with since their release, and I think about the standard, John is at the top of the class as it relates to the rehabilitation, the growth and the maturity that has happened during incarceration. And I say that knowing that John has been a mentor to other juvenile lifers who have already come home. Considering Mr. Roche's comments, I must also say that we did have a job lined up for John at a local dealership. John's very humble in talking about his skill set. John, before he worked at the Inmate Affairs Administrative Office, before he worked at the mansion for years, John actually ran the front office at State Police's fleet operations. So he literally ran State Police's fleet program from the administrative side. And there was a local dealership in Baton Rouge that wanted him to come to work for them, to work in the administrative office. I must also say that Linda Felcher of Catholic Charities wanted me to state that Catholic Charities of Baton Rouge was prepared to offer John support and have John as a part of their peer mentorship group. I would like to offer finally for this board's consideration, while we were prepared to say today that John had a considerable support network in Baton Rouge to help him transition, I would like to ask Mr. Roche, Mr. Kelsey, and Ms. Renatza to consider allowing John to go through phase 1 of Parole Project's intensive reintegration program in our residential reentry program, and then allowing him, if the board so chooses to grant him parole to out-of-state residents, please consider allowing him to go through our residential program where we can work with him for his reentry, for a short period before he transitions to Florida, if that's your plan, so he has a better foundation before he goes to his parents. In summation, I'd just like to remind this board that John is among the cream of the crop of the juvenile lifers when you consider the rehabilitation and the growth and maturity that he has shown during his time in prison. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now we'll hear from Mr. John Searcy the second, his father. I gotta take mute off. There we go.
Yes, good morning. I'm John Seary. I'm John's father. After all these years, both John and I continue to feel such great remorse for the tragedy of John's actions, and it's something that will always stay with us. It may seem strange, but I'm very proud of John and what he has accomplished within the Louisiana penal system. He is not the same person that entered Angola over 40 plus years ago. He has become an adult. He has a good heart and good moral values. And his rehabilitation is clearly reflected in his prison records and his work history. He has a passion, and he has worked with the Parole Project and helps his fellow inmates over the years to prepare for parole, teaching them various classes. And it's a passion. He does it, and he does it well. I've heard if John is granted parole, he wants to stay in Louisiana and continue to work for the Parole Project. It's something that he's very, very passionate about. And he will have the support of his mother and I. We will provide for any necessities that he may need. Now, his mother already has a job lined up for him. I have a business, and I have a job for him. If he's released to Florida, both his mother and I will make sure he has everything he needs, including a job and a place to live. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak on my son's behalf, and for listening to a father that is so proud of his son. May God bless all of us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wexler, would you like to make a statement at the end, or you'd like to make a statement now?
Yes, I'll reserve my comment till the end. Thank you.
All right, let's hear from, we'll hear from Mr. Mark and Mr. James Holt. Got the mute on.
Unmute.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm Mark Holt. I'm the youngest sibling of Jim and Doris Holt. It sounds like the board has a pretty good grasp of the details, and this is not that long. I did write something down so that nerves wouldn't get to me. So this is our perspective. And on May 31st, 1978, I walked into my home in Slidell, Louisiana, and found what no child should ever have to see. Both my parents face down in our living room, dead. They were about 10 feet apart from each other, slightly angled towards each other. As I found out later, they were ordered to the floor by their soon-to-be executioner, John Thomas Seary III. I feel very sure they were looking towards each other in panic, trying to understand how such well-intentioned situation had become frightening and surreal to them. The pair had interrupted their trip back from Alabama to be good Samaritans to Seary, who they noticed stranded on the side of the road. My parents were Christians, first and foremost, but they were also parents. And a 16-year-old stranded on the side of the road could not be ignored by conscientious people that they were. So as fate would have it, my dad stopped to try to render aid. My dad, Jim Holt, was a contract analyst for Mobil Oil in New Orleans, but at home he was a handyman. He worked on his car, he worked on his boat, and he even repaired his home when it was needed. So I'm sure that night he felt confident that he could help John Seary resolve his car trouble and get him back on his way. It was a time before cell phones, so any summoned help or parts needed would require going somewhere with access to a telephone. So Slidell wasn't too far away, and apparently the decision was made to allow Seary to return home with my parents. While they were there, dinner was being prepared. Upon my parents' arrival at home, my mom and dad would find a note that I left about my whereabouts. Summer break was fresh, and I was making the most of my newfound free time. My mother, Doris Holt, had encouraged me to travel with them to Alabama for a business trip on that fateful day. But at 14 years of age, I was more interested in hanging out with my friends, and she eventually relented and let me stay home. The note that I left on the kitchen table explained that I'd gone swimming with friends at the community pool not far from our home. I wasn't a robust swimmer, but for some reason that night, my stamina lasted to the pool closing. It was after dark when I returned home. And as I entered the front door, I was met not only by the sight of my parents' bodies, but by the sight and the smell of smoke from burning food as my mother was preparing a meal for her family and for her killer. It was apparent to me by the condition of the food on the stove that I had missed coming face to face with John Seary by no more than a few minutes. Had I returned home sooner, would I have been his third victim? From a victim's perspective, we have been outside of any of the decisions made about justice for our parents' murder. The state bargained with their killer and saved his life from possible execution. If John Seary had afforded his victims the same privilege, we wouldn't be here today. My parents were not intimidating people. My dad was 5'10" and 140 pounds soaking wet. My mother was the sweetest lady that you could ever meet. So sweet that she literally cried the last day of school that year when I had to walk home sick because of miscommunication with a carpool. These were not people to be feared. John Seary's exit from our home would not have been hindered by these defenseless people. There were certainly options for Seary that night that did not involve murder. And in conclusion, I want to acknowledge that we too were subject to laws, and John Seary's sentence was the only means of justice our family would receive. And while no amount of time can bring back the 2 lives that were taken, or the life experiences that never came to fruition, we were confident that justice was served with the original 80 years decision. I would ask that before making your decision about what seems to me to be a premature parole, please consider the nature of the crime and the nature of the criminal. Does the nature of a human that can stand over an innocent victim, shoot them at point blank range, and then move a few steps across the room and do it again, does that ever change? I don't know, and I don't believe any man knows. And I pray no one ever has to go through what our family went through again. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. James, would you like to make a statement, or that's for both of you?
Some of what I have to say will probably be repetitive. We did not compare notes. We both independently worked on a statement. After Mr. Seary murdered our parents, Mr. Seary was charged, as you know, with 2 counts of first-degree murder from the state of Louisiana. And at that time, it was punishable by death. And that would have been the electric chair. He was further charged with robbery and aggravated escape charges. On July 27th, 1979, as the trial approached, the state of Louisiana took the liberty to offer a plea bargain, whereby Mr. Seary would be able to plead to 2 counts of second-degree murder instead of the first degree as charged. The state of Louisiana also took the liberty to drop the armed robbery charge and the aggravated escape. Mr. Seary's attorney and Mr. Seary's father both considered it a favor, considered it a very good bargain, and they advised their Mr. Seary advised his son, as did the attorney, that he should take this bargain, and John Seary chose to do that. He chose to take a plea bargain. I've read the account of the plea bargain. Mr. Seary claims he did not get a fair deal. I, as a son, as a victim, along with the other members of the family, we have a completely different perspective on what not fair is. The whole family never got a voice. We never got a say. We never got the opportunity to give our side of the story until today. We have been to some other hearings. We've been to a couple of other hearings, but the scenario was quite a bit different this time. The whole family never was asked to express what seemed fair to us. Mr. Seary committed first-degree murder. Pleading second-degree murder does not make the crime different. It does not suddenly change to second degree. Drop charges included the armed robbery. He stole credit cards, and I don't think anybody's mentioned cash. Plus, he stole the car that they were driving in, and he fled the scene. And another thing that no one's mentioned is he bragged. He wrote a letter to friends on the West Coast about what he had done. Exciting news. Additionally, Something else that's not been mentioned, the last hearing that we were in, we had a bomb, we had a surprise. After 30 plus years, there was new news. Mr. Siri had discovered, he had figured out a way to get the world to feel sorry for him or to justify what he had done. He claimed that these good people that stopped to help him, he claimed that these people that exercised mercy, exercised goodwill toward him, he claimed that they tried to sexually molest him. That is ridiculous. That is the most ridiculous lie I have ever heard in my life. It was the only thing that he could come up with after 30 years to justify what he had done. Even if you want to consider that scenario, I want you to remember during the trial, he was fighting for his life. He was fighting with whatever he could to get off. If there had been any kind of sexual molestation or any attempt, don't you think he would have brought it up then? How can 30 years later, all of a sudden he remembers? I think not. No one in their right mind would believe this lie. Only a manipulative criminal would stoop to such a self-serving lie. I've heard all sorts of evidence today where he's changed. We would love to believe that. But 30 years after the case, after the event, to come up with a lie like that, do you realize how harmful, how damaging that is to the character of my parents? Do you realize what that does to the family? But did you care? No, you simply wanted to get out. There was no evidence throughout. Mr. Siri just testified there's no evidence of any aggression by my parents toward Mr. Siri. Never. They were there to help. So Mr. Siri, without any reservation, with skilled accuracy, he fired a round into both of their heads. I'm sure my parents pleaded for their lives right until the moment that he fired his weapon. It was a cold-blooded execution. Over the years, the justice contract has been the only thing that the Holt family has had to assure them that Mr. Siri would not do this again. The justice contract was 2 life sentences, 80 years, non-concurrent, 2 life sentences, non-concurrent. And no parole. What is it about no parole that the state of Louisiana chose to ignore? Now we're saying 40 years. How is that fair? How is that good for the Holt family? Today, Mr. Siri is being considered in black and white. Mr. Siri signed a plea, a document that he agreed to, which says no chance for parole. Why is justice for the victims of crime and their families less important than the leniency being extended to the murderer? The original indictment was first-degree murder, punishable by death. Yet a plea was offered and leniency was extended to the criminal. Now, due to current law changes and a plea bargain to second degree, more leniency is being afforded the criminal. These continual extensions of leniency from Mr. Siri clearly demonstrates the justice contract. It's not been honored. The brutal murder of Jim and Doris Holt, which Mr. Siri admits to, the sentence was compromised when the state of Louisiana softened the charge to second degree murder by plea bargain. The justice contract has not been served for the Holt family. Justice has repeatedly been compromised. What if a criminal you testified against, such as we have on several occasions, was released from prison into our communities? Would it be any concern to you to have such a criminal move in next door to you, move into your neighborhood? Maybe you think or reason that Mr. Siri has changed, but I'm not convinced that he's trustworthy. My parents, they believed in Mr. Siri. They believed he was trustworthy. I believe my father reasoned with him. I believe that he talked with him, he reasoned with him, he pleaded with him right up until the moment that it cost him his life. And it cost my mother's life. Mr. Trustworthy himself, Mr. Siri, executed the two people that cared enough that they stopped to help because they saw someone with car trouble. Mr. Siri, unprovoked, fired around in my father's and then my mother's head. Then Mr. Siri, unhindered, methodically searched for cash and credit cards, all in some keys because he had a plan, and he escaped. And again, he wrote and he bragged to his friends. At several hearings, I've spoken against Mr. Siri being released, and Mr. Siri has demonstrated during the last hearing he relies on manipulation and deception. And that's been in the last 30 years. That's been more like 10 years. As I've explained, I would not find Mr. Siri worthy of trust. The fabricated story concerning my parents some 30 years after the fact tells me he'll do anything for his own gain. And one final comment. From all indications, he is a tremendous asset to the prison system. So why not let him continue to serve the prison system that he's such an asset to? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Kaplan, would you like to make a statement?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, and thank you for allowing me to participate. I'm going to start by looking at the written policy of the Committee on Parole. It says the committee shall weigh the balance of societal justice, consistency, public safety, and the rights of the victim and victims' families. So, I mean, I'm not going to repeat what the victims' children said, but their position is quite clear. But the balance of societal justice. Mr. Ziri took 2 lives. And it had life-deranging consequences for their children and their family, compounded by his fabrications of sexual assault, and sort of shifting. So back in 2007, there was a clemency investigation report where he was asked what he was guilty of, and he said manslaughter. And now he is, he's saying the things that you want to hear, which is he committed murder, he accepts responsibility. But I have some doubts about the sincerity of those statements. And I think you should too. And I mean, just the balance of, justice would not be served by allowing him to be released from prison. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Siri, would you like to make a statement on your behalf? And then we'll let your attorney follow up at the end.
Yes, sir. There is no excuse for what I did to the whole family. I've tried to minimize the pain and the hurt that my act caused their family. I cannot express in enough words just the shame, the guilt, and the remorse I feel. I just hope that I do have a lot of skills that I've learned over the years. I've worked very hard to try to give some purpose. I know I can never atone or make amends for what I did, but I hope that something that I may have done has helped somebody to keep from making the same just senseless decisions and not cause anybody else any pain. I've got a wealth of professional as well as friends for a support network. I have a family that is there to help me and support me. And I just hope that the board, I want to thank you. I never really thought this day was going to come, but I want to thank you.
Mr. West.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to address you today. As you can hear, this case is extraordinary on at least two levels. The first is that this is a juvenile lifer case. And as the board is aware, the standard in a juvenile lifer case, according to the U.S. Supreme Court's decisions in Miller and Montgomery, is whether the offender has demonstrated maturity and rehabilitation. That's the key inquiry: demonstrated maturity and rehabilitation. What you have in front of you is an offender who has been in the system now for 42 years, since the age of 16. And that's the second way in which this case is extraordinary, is John Siri's record. It is difficult to imagine an offender having more of a demonstrated record of maturity and rehabilitation than John Siri. With no expectation that he was going to be before you, he set off as a 16-year-old entering Angola to turn his life around. He got his education, a GED, some college coursework, some professional education. He helped others do the same. He tutored in the GED program and has set many others on a path to getting their education. He dedicated himself to his jobs, and he ascended to the highest levels of trust within the DOC system, working in the governor's mansion and the state police barracks, and attaining professional skills along the way that will assist him with his success if he's released. But perhaps the best evidence of his maturity and rehabilitation is the dedication that he's had to helping others, to helping at-risk youth to understand the consequences of poor decision-making. And also his dedication to helping his fellow offenders through programming. Not only has he participated in anger management and substance abuse programs within the system himself, he's facilitated those programs and helped other offenders to reckon with their issues that caused them to make bad decisions. This is a 42-year story and a 42-year journey that John has been on, and a record before you that demonstrates maturity and rehabilitation. Warden Schwer said it best, perhaps, that John is he is exceptional. He has been given a great degree of trust within the system by those who have spent the last decades with him. They know his character and they trust him. They've seen his maturity, they've seen his rehabilitation, and you can see that in the documents before you that we've submitted for your consideration today. As far as his transition, John is now a man of strong character. He has many professional skills, and from a practical perspective, he has the support of his family who can help him moving forward. I have no doubt that John will continue his work helping others make good decisions while strengthening his own maturity and rehabilitation, should he be released. So in sum, John has a lengthy record of maturity and rehabilitation, which are the key benchmarks which the U.S. Supreme Court has put before the board today. We ask that you grant his application, and we thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion for executive session, please,
We have a
to
motion for
discuss
executive
confidential
session.
matters.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for executive session. Roll call, please.
Mr. Notza,
Yes.
Mr. Kelsey,
Yes,
Mr. Roche.
Yes.
we'll be back shortly.
So far, it's going on 7 minutes of an executive session. What do you think they're going to vote? It's personally, just with the whole idea that he's started to rub the victims through the mud by making up those statements, gets me fired up.
He heard.
All right, I think everyone's back. Is the panel prepared to vote?
Yes.
Okay, we'll hear from Mr. Alvin Roche.
Mr. Siri, based upon your good programs, based upon community service that you've rendered to your fellow offenders over the last 42 years, and what I would say was a degree of maturity over the last 42 years and rehabilitation. And we can never be certain about rehabilitation. It's a shot in the dark. We hope that you have been rehabilitated, but time will tell. I need to tell Mr. Mark and Mr. James, I'm so very glad you got a chance to have your input today, to get exactly what you wanted to say. And you should have been afforded this opportunity a long time ago as sons of a couple who were trying to extend goodwill to someone in distress. And I'm just happy that you had a chance to tell your story today. But based on good programming, based on a positive remarks by Mr. Swear in the length of his incarceration. And I must say that, and I don't know the particulars, but it has been explained to me in the matters that Act 99 of the Louisiana Legislature states that when there's multiple offenses with consecutive sentencing, when consideration of parole is in the question, that multiple offenses with consecutive sections should be treated as one. So basically, he was eligible for parole according to current legislation after 40 years. And that was Act 99 of the Louisiana State Legislature. And I don't know exactly what year it was, but that's what this was based on. We did get a legal opinion, and that was the result of that opinion. Now, I'm granting your request, Mrs. Swift, under the conditions that you get an approved interstate compact from the state of Florida. You are to stay incarcerated until that interstate compact is approved. Once that interstate compact is approved, you will be released, and you're released to the Louisiana Parole Project. You have 10 days to complete that orientation with the Louisiana Parole Project, and only 10 days. And on the 10th day, you should be on a plane to Florida. Do we understand, Mr. Siri? So you'll have 10 days with the Louisiana Parole Project, and then you will be in the state of Florida. Conditions after release, the first condition is that you will have only 10 days with the Louisiana State Project, Louisiana Parole Project, and on the 10th day, you should leave the state of Louisiana. Once in Florida, all travel will be restricted to the state of Florida. All travel thereafter will be restricted to the state of Florida. You are to have a curfew from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. A curfew from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. You are to attend at least 3 NAAA meetings a week, 3 NAAA meetings a week, and you are to do community service with at-risk youth. You articulated during the hearing that you founded a program with at-risk youth. I want you to do 5 hours of community service with at-risk youth as a part of your supervision. You'll be on supervision for the rest of your life, Mr. Siri, and I wish you luck.
All right, Ms. Renata.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I concur with Mr. Roche based on the remarks by Mr. Swear, Mr. Seary's age, length of incarceration, his demonstrated maturity since incarceration, and his demonstrated rehabilitation. My vote is to grant parole with the same conditions set forth by Mr. Roche.
All right. Thank you. You have 2 votes to grant your parole. In a difficult case, they all are. It has been, after listening to everybody speak, after going through the file extensively, all the decisions we make are difficult. We're just trying to all make the best decision, the right decision. With the information I have, with the information presented to me, I'm going to vote likewise to grant your parole due to the work you've done, the time you spent, standing discipline, your warden's comments, and you'll be granted as stipulations as stated to the parole project for 10 days. You will then go to the Florida residence. You have a curfew from 8 p to 7 a unless you're at work, church. You do community service 5 hours per month at risk youth. I want you to attend NAAA weekly. I want you to report to your PO weekly for the first 60 days. And your travel will be restricted to Florida only, not to travel back to Louisiana, and no contact with the victim's family. 3 votes to grant your parole. Today your parole is being granted. Thank you. And is that the only case we have at State Police Barracks?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we will adjourn State Police Barracks at 10:06 a.m. Thank you.
I don't get it. I really don't get it. I thought for sure Mr. Roche, as the victim's advocate, was not going to just allow that to happen. Here's why. The dude, all these years later, it's not clear to me when he did it. Was it 30 years later? Was it? He drags his victims through the mud. He states that they wanted to do something to him, and that's why he did it. And I can't get over that. That is someone who legitimately does not belong to get out. That's it. He didn't apologize for it. He didn't say he made it up. He was desperate. He again made a wrong choice. Nothing. So what you're telling him, what you're telling the victims, what you're telling the children of the man, of the father and the mother, the husband and the wife that he knocked off on the ground with that, and then that he'll come out and say that they were trying to assault him of a sexual nature, and that's why he did it. How dare you? Really, how dare you? And he gets a gift. He gets a gift to get out. Think about this story. And we do have the court transcripts. Thank you, Richard. And we'll go over. There's not much in there. It's on his appeal, but we'll glance at it. But let's just unpack this again and think about what happened. He's driving. His car is broken down at the side of the road. A couple, mind you, parents, with my understanding, a child similar to the age of the child who's 16 years old, whose car is broken down. These things add up. These things are important. They're like, Mike, if I have a child, I would do the same thing. This is 1978. You can't just get up on a cell phone and call someone. This is Good Samaritan things. That's what's happening here. This is why we can't This is why we can't do good things anymore, because you don't know which psycho you're going to pick up, and then you don't know how the system's going to treat it all these years later. What's the big deal? Let him get out of prison early. What's the big deal, right? On May 30th, 1978, the 16-year-old ran away from his family's home in Florida and headed west. 10 days later, he was stopped in Colorado for exceeding the speed limit. He was driving a car that had been in possession of a Louisiana couple found their lives taken in their home days earlier. He also had in his possession credit cards, belongings of the couple. He was returned to Louisiana, where on June 21st, 1978, the grand jury indicted him on 2 counts of first degree, and in a separate indictment, 1 count of armed robbery, arising from his alleged robbery of the couple before he took their lives. While Caesar was in jail awaiting trial, he pulled a homemade knife on a guard in an unsuccessful attempt to escape. Consequently, the state also charged him with aggravated escape. So this guy's a real prince, right? I'm just caught on the wrong side. Now he even makes a knife in prison to escape. According to the polygraph examiner's report of examination in which he left his record, he reported that a Louisiana couple had assisted him when his car broke down just inside Louisiana. They tried to help him find a necessary car part and also helped him attempt to summon a wrecker. When these efforts were fruitless, they urged him to come spend the night with them. Remember, this isn't their son, a similar age, I believe similar age, was coming home that night too. These are just good Samaritans. At that point, he forced them at gunpoint to lie on the floor, and then both. There, they took the keys to the car and he drove away. He was 17. By the time he stood trial, I think he was 16 at the time of the crime. And this Act 122, which allows anyone under the age of 18 to be given these opportunities for trial, afterlife. That's why we have our dear friend from the Louisiana Parole Project who's talking on his behalf. He was under the age of 18 when he brutally ended the life of and then lit on fire his girl that rejected him. We should get into his case one day. But you do that, you can get the Parole Project, right? That's it. That's it. I'm talking about Andrew Hunley and his experience. What he did to the little girl. So, I don't know where Mr. Roche was on this. We go through an entire hearing and we hear about this man where he goes out and he states all these years later, well, they were going to try to do something to me and that's why I did it. And I call BS, BS, BS. You know, even if they were, you have a weapon on you, so like, just walk out of the house. Like, what are you saying? You're gonna go and end both their lives, steal their cars because you thought that they were gonna try to to drag them through the mud. It's just disgusting. The only thing that went well with this hearing was that they let the victim speak without interruption. Bravo to that. We don't see that very often. And this hearing took place in 2021, May 2021. But I'm pissed off. He shouldn't, in my opinion. You make up those stories, you start dragging your victims through the mud, and then you don't even apologize for it, and you don't really hold yourself accountable, which is what we didn't see. Then what we see here is someone who really doesn't care, who really doesn't feel remorse, who really doesn't feel like indebted to the lives of the people they took. No, if you can go and say they were going to do this, they had plans of defiling me as a teenager and I had to protect myself, then you need to stay locked up. there's something very wrong with you. And I don't know why the board couldn't see that. I don't know why it's not so obvious, because it's obvious to me. And I think it's obvious to a lot of us. Anyways, that's my rant for the day.
From DOC number 717-438, you're a second class offender. Parole eligibility date 5/22/2021. Not eligible for a good time, full term 4/8/2022. You have a 3-year, 6-month sentence, carnal knowledge with a juvenile, and you were 4 years hard labor, suspended 5 years probation.
Yes, sir.
Submitted to 3.5 years hard time, and you were revoked on 4/26/2019. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. It's all correct.
All right, well, so it sounds like you got a pretty good deal on this. What happened? Why'd you get revoked?
I had violated my probation for not having proof of road address. Yes, sir.
You have several things. Anything else? Missed several sex offender group treatments. You were you had contact with juveniles. You went out of the state with permission. You failed to register your phone. So it's probably a little bit more than that, wasn't it?
It's a lot more.
Being real honest with me, huh?
Yeah, yes, sir. It's a lot more than that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, I got you. When's your last disciplinary write-up?
I don't have no disciplinary write-ups.
And what are you currently doing?
I work in the kitchen. I'm a trustee in the kitchen. I started at school. I started GED school.
Okay.
But coronavirus had stopped, so I had to start back in GED school. I'm trying to.
What grade did you drop out of school?
11th grade.
So you're trying to get your GED. That's good. Have you taken any classes or any courses while you've been down?
No, sir. I wasn't. They said I wasn't eligible for classes, so I'm trying to get that straight too.
So no sex offender treatment, nothing.
No, sir.
Okay, and you you pled guilty to this charge, you went to trial on this charge?
Can't hear you, sir.
You plead guilty to the charge, you went to trial on the charge?
Plead guilty.
And so you didn't realize the girl was 15?
No, sir. No, sir, I didn't. No, sir. Not till at the last minute, sir.
You don't know the difference between a 15-year-old and somebody that's of age?
I do.
You do?
Yes, sir.
So what's your plans if you were to be released?
Well, I'm trying to go to trade school, get my trade, and I can release. I'm trying to get the GED, so I can go up here, and all that.
Sounds like to me that, of course, you got some opposition, you have some law enforcement opposition, nothing you can do about it. You have a high Tiger score. That's kind of a reoffending score that they think you'll reoffend. Of course, you don't have a whole lot of time left. It sounds like you're doing pretty good where you are to me. I'd like to see you take some classes, work on your GED. All those things would be helpful for you to get out, keep you straight, for sure. Again, April, so you got about a year, actually today, based on your full-time date.
Yes, sir.
And so, for me today, I'm not gonna be able to support you. You look at it, but it sounds like you're doing the right things. I'd like to see you get some treatment and work on your GED, and so you'd be better prepared when you get out. So just where I am today, let me let you talk to some of the other members. Mr. Marabella.
Mr. Odom, how are you? My name is Tony Marabella.
How you doing?
You are 25 now, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I'm 25 now.
How old were you when you had sex with this 15-year-old?
19.
You were 19? You knew her?
Yeah, I knew her.
Mm-hmm.
No, sir. I never knew her. I didn't know.
Okay. Drugs or alcohol? You ever use drugs?
No, I don't do none of that.
Have you ever used them?
No, I don't do no drugs or no alcohol.
Now, did you say you went through the 11th grade or the 7th grade? I'm sorry,
11th grade.
11th grade.
Yes, sir.
And why'd you quit?
I had dropped out to go to military school, but I didn't complete that either.
What military school?
YCP.
Okay.
In Carville, Louisiana.
Okay. And why didn't you complete it? Did you get kicked out?
No, sir. I had graduated, but I had failed the ASVAB test, and then
you did what? I'm sorry.
I had failed the ASVAB test, and I didn't complete the GED either.
Okay. Now, how long were you in the Youth Challenge Program? How long were you there?
6 months.
What did you learn there?
I learned discipline. I ain't gonna lie. I learned a little bit.
Well, yeah, it's a very good program. It does teach discipline, and sometimes young people need that discipline.
Yeah.
When did you get out of that program?
It was 2012 summertime. 2012, 2013. Yep.
And what kind of work do you do? What kind of work can you do? I know not in prison. What were you doing outside of prison?
I was doing carpentry work, laying concrete. I did a little bit of welding and landscaping.
How did you learn the concrete work?
The concrete, I had my pops, my daddy's friend. He was a concrete layer, so he had put me over him.
And what kind of work do you hope to do when you get out?
Sir, anything. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'll do anything. Right now, I'm trying to get my trade.
Okay.
Get my trade.
What kind of programs have you taken while you've been in prison that have been helpful to you?
I ain't take no programs, sir.
You haven't had any at all?
No, sir. No, nothing.
Thank you, sir. That's all the questions I have.
All right, appreciate it.
Ms. Wise?
Good morning, sir.
How you doing?
All right. The report we got said that the probation officer had filed revocation against you 3 times while you on supervision.
Yes, ma'am.
That's concerning to me. So what are you gonna do about supervision?
Man, I don't know, man. I really don't know either.
Wait, what is it? I mean, you plead guilty to the charge. This is the outcome of your guilty plea.
Yeah.
I just want to caution you that one act, if you don't go ahead and settle down, get this supervision behind you. You're a young man. You can move on with your life.
Yes,
coming back to jail, and all that, getting revoked, and that's just a waste of time. You cannot undo that guilty plea.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you still mad at yourself for doing it, or what is it?
I'm very mad at myself.
The judge gave you a break. He had sentenced you to 4 years hard labor. That didn't scare you enough. You still messed up on probation. Then he reduced it to 3.5 years when he sentenced you. So you're getting some breaks here and there. You got to do your part.
Yes, ma'am. I am.
That's all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
No, sir. I just want to make things right, sir. That's all I want to do. I just hope y'all grab me, man. I want to make things right.
I know you do. Sounds like you're a nice guy trying to do the right thing, and I appreciate that. But again, like I told you before, the fact that you have law enforcement opposition, you have high tiger, you need some treatment, some classes, you have poor supervision. My vote would be to deny you today. Like you're doing well where you are, keep working hard, progress towards getting your GED, do what you need to do. You got about another year, so you can get some stuff done in this next year, come out and really be successful. But that's my vote for today.
All right.
Mr. Marabella.
Mr. Odom, my vote is going to be the same. I'm going to encourage you to kind of do some programs. I don't know, how well did you do after you finished Youth Challenge?
I didn't do too well, sir. I didn't do too well. You know what I mean?
Well, maybe you don't like structure, but you need it.
Yeah, I need it.
Maybe you don't like people telling you what to do. When you're on probation or on parole, you got to follow the rules and you got to follow orders. Otherwise, if you don't, you end up where you are. So I hope that you can come to grips with realizing that there are rules in this world that we have to follow. Some we can, if we don't like certain things, we may not have to do them, but you can't break the law. And if you're under some sort of mandate to do certain things, you got to do those things. And if you don't do them, you get in trouble. So I hope you learn that. Be my vote to deny as well, but encourage you to move forward in your thinking.
Ms. Pearl?
Yes, sir. My vote is to deny as well because of the poor supervision, your high tiger score. And again, I admonish you to go ahead and get this behind you. Go ahead and finish your parole, get off, and go on with your life and get you a trade. Good luck to you, sir.
3 votes to deny. Your parole's been denied. Good luck to you. It's 11:32. We will adjourn at Concordia. Thank you.
All right.
Well, there are certain people that you just can't help. In this case, the judge must have felt bad. He was 19, she was 15. I actually saw a report that Richard provided that said she was 16. And, he gives him basically all his probated time. You don't need to do jail, just behave. The guy can't help himself. He gets locked up. The judge gives him left, probably because for time served, he gave him 6 months off the sentence. He gets paroled. The parole officer does 3 revocations. I didn't know you could have 3 revocations, but he gets locked up again. He's breaking every single rule. Now his good time date was April 8, 2022. This hearing took place April 8, 2021. So it was 12 months that he then sat in, prison doing nothing. And guess what happened? When he got out, he got a compact to Texas, and he got rearrested. It took just 4 months from his good time date to get rearrested again for failure to register, and this is in Texas. So, what are you supposed to do? You can't make it up. You really just can't make it up. Someone you know what the consequences are, and yet you don't do it. I guess he just loves prison. There's no other. I don't know how you can diagnose someone. Like, are you just like, what is it that are you thinking? Do you just want to be in prison? Not to mention as a registered offender, it can't be fun being there. You wouldn't believe it if you didn't see it, but here you go. And with that, I'll let you go.
State your name and DOC number for the record.
Emmitt Hills, 73677.
All right, Mr. Hills. Again, I'm Mr. Kelsey, Ms. Marabella, Miss Wise. We're here for a revocation hearing. I'll read some charges. You'll plead guilty, not guilty, guilty with a statement, not guilty with a statement. We'll ask you some questions. We'll let counsel speak and Mr. Hunley speak, and we'll let you make a statement. We'll take a vote. You understand the process?
Yes, sir.
Emmitt Hills, DOC number 73677. Do you have a parole revocation questionnaire in front of you?
No, sir.
Okay. Can we get one in front of him, staff?
Well, I can try, sir.
No, I'm talking about staff here. Does he have a copy?
Yes, sir, he does.
Okay, says, is that parole revocation questionnaire?
Yes, sir.
And is that your signature at the bottom?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And you have counsel here today. Is that appointed counsel?
Yes, sir. That's
Can you read and write?
yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I'll read the charges to you. Charge number 3 and 9. You were evicted from your residence on 12/6/20. You failed to immediately contact your parole officer to get approval to move to new address. How do you plead?
Guilty with a statement.
Okay. On 12/5/2020, you were arrested by the Kenner Police Department and charged with aggravated assault. The charge was refused on 2/18/2021. How do you plead?
Guilty with a statement.
Rule number 5. You were arrested by the Kenner Police Department and charged with aggravated assault. You admitted to the parole officer that you had a knife in your front right jacket pocket. How do you plead?
Guilty with a statement.
Guilty with a statement. Okay. And number 10, you are currently $3,591 in arrears and haven't made a payment since 11/15/2017. How do you plead?
Guilty with a statement.
Okay. You can answer Ms. Pearl Wise's questions, please. I'm sure she'll want to hear your statements.
Yes, sir. Go ahead and give us your statements at this time, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Please give us your statements. Starting back with the first one about you moved from your residence and you didn't report to your officer. What statement you have on that?
When I got evicted in Keller, and I got a 10 to 6 curfew, and then I'm not supposed to be around teenage girls without some adults being in the area. And by me being evicted in Keller, I have nowhere to live, so I can't live up to the 10 to 6 curfew, and I don't have no supervisor, nothing. I don't have no supervisor, no one out there with me with them teenage girls out there. And by me being evicted in the house, I have nowhere to live in Keller. I was trying to do the right thing by calling somebody to take me to my sister's house where I could live there. But before I did that, I went to the sheriff's office in Baton Rouge to inform them of my situation and ask them to call my parole officer and the lawyer to let them know my situation. You know, I do understand now that I was trying to do the right thing, but I just went about it the wrong way. I should have tried to contact my parole officer more harder than I did.
Okay, so when you went to the sheriff's office and they called your parole officer, what happened?
Well, the sheriff was trying to explain it to the parole officer, but she told him to tell me she didn't want to hear it because I did that bad and I better be in her office tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So I left Baton Rouge then and went back.
So you missed the appointment. You missed the appointment with your officer the next day at 1 o'clock.
No, ma'am. I came back.
Oh, okay. You came back. Okay.
She arrested me. That's why I've been here right here.
Now you were arrested. What day were you arrested?
December 18th.
I thought it was the 16th. So she didn't arrest you the next day. She arrested you.
No, she arrested me the next day. Because I left Baton Rouge that same day she said it and came to back to Keller.
Okay, all right, okay. What's your statement on your next allegation that you pled guilty to on about the arrest in Kenner for aggravated assault that was dismissed? What's your statement on that one?
Oh, my housemate, not my roommate, my housemate, he kept following me in and out the house, and I'm telling him to stay out my room and my things. But he just kept following me, so I just got loud with him and everything. He was hollering and running, and they said, I know the landlord, the police were there for me.
Okay, all right. And what's your statement about the other one? Did you have you admitted to your officer you had a knife in your pocket? That's true?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about that?
Yes, ma'am. I used to keep the knife with me at all times, cleaning my fingernails. So when he asked me to have a weapon on me, I'm saying, I got to tell you the truth. Yes, sir, I got a weapon in my coat pocket, which was a pocket knife. Okay,
all righty. Okay. And the last one is about the fees. What's going on with that?
Well, ma'am, I'm on disability. I don't have no job.
How much were you getting every month?
Well, it started out at $600. Now I get $784.
Let me ask you this: how much was your rent?
Well, one of them was $850.
Your rent was $850?
Yes, ma'am.
You had a roommate, so was everybody?
I'm saying, from start to finish, my rent was $850. All right, I moved out of that house in Baton Rouge to a house costing me $750. All right, Miss Kelly moved me down here to Keller, which my rent then was $400.
Mm-hmm.
Then I had to pay $100 every month to the school. Then I had to pay Jefferson Parish $63.
What's the $100 to the school for?
Sex offender class is twice a month.
Oh yeah. Okay, it's not to this. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, I get you. Are there any other statements you want to make?
All the things I want to make right now is I messed up trying to do the right thing. You know, I just went about it the wrong way.
Now, you were granted parole on January 29th of 2016. You had no special conditions because, you know, the board didn't give you any special conditions. And you said you want to be released. So if you're released, what are you going to do?
Well, ma'am, I'm trying to get in a bunch of programs to get some of this time.
Now what you trying to do? What are you going to do?
Well, I'm going to get in the program so I can take some of this time off my hands. Ma'am, I'm saying just running free all day long, that ain't good for me.
When you say program, you talking about like a day retreat, like a day reporting center or something like that?
Church programs, in-house programs like Alcoholics Anonymous. Yes, ma'am. Things like that.
So you don't have to be running the street all day. That's what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, okay. That's all the questions I have. Is there anything else you want to say?
Yes, ma'am, it is. Like I said earlier, I messed up trying to do the right thing. Ma'am, I'm saying, I just want another chance to go do the right thing.
All right, let me hear what your
Mr.
guests have to
Marabella?
say.
Mr. Marabella?
Mr. Hills, how old are you, sir?
66.
Okay, and how long have you been in prison on this revocation hold?
47 years.
How long?
So,
No, how long have you been in prison? When did you get arrested for this violation?
I've been here ready 4 months now.
About 4 months?
Yes, sir.
Where will you go if you are released? Where will you be living?
I'll go to Alcoholics Anonymous in Baton Rouge, and from Alcoholics Anonymous in no treatment. I go to a place called One Church Ministry for housing.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I'd like to hear from everyone else before I make any more comments. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Hunley.
Andrew Hunley with Louisiana Parole Project. Couple things. One, I personally know Emmitt because I was incarcerated with Emmitt at Angola. Obviously, he was there much longer than I was. And I know that this board isn't considering, this isn't a parole hearing where you're considering his institutional record at Angola. For what it's worth, he was a Class A trustee with a very good disciplinary record during his incarceration. And obviously that was part of this board's consideration when granting him parole over 5 years ago. I can tell you that Emmitt was not a Parole Project client because Emmitt was released before Parole Project was even started. Obviously, Emmitt was granted parole after the U.S. Supreme Court's Graham decision. But I am here today on behalf of Parole Project to tell you that if Emmitt's parole is not revoked, Parole Project, along with other organizations that have submitted information to the board, we are willing to be a part of his reentry programming. You have a letter, and I know his attorney will describe this, where he has been accepted into an inpatient substance abuse program in Baton Rouge. His reentry plan would be for him to go into that program immediately upon release and then be housed at One Touch Ministry in Baton Rouge. The parole board, I'm sure, is aware of One Touch Ministry's success rate. They provide housing and support for individuals who have to register. The way that we envision this working, because Parole Project has, for clients who cannot be housed in Parole Project housing but are Parole Project housing, they're housed at One Touch Ministry, and we do everything, the programming, the services. They just live at One Touch Ministry, and they also get the benefit of the services from One Touch Ministry. Also, First 72 is actively involved with Mr. Hills as they have been, and EJI. So I'm just here to tell you today that not making excuses for what happened, but obviously we made a determination that we felt like Emmitt was worth not giving up on, based on the fact that He is a juvenile lifer who served over 40 years, and he has been home for over 5 years. And this was, this did not happen immediately upon his release. Part of my determination in deciding that we would provide him support is that he didn't just abscond, that he had actually, when he got evicted, he had went and reported himself to authorities, thinking he was doing the right thing. When he was told to go see his parole officer in Jefferson, he made the appointment. We recognize that Emmitt has some struggles, and we feel like if Emmitt has the support, he can overcome those struggles. And obviously, a big part of that is Emmitt having owned up to his substance abuse, his alcoholism, and him asking for help with that alcoholism. But Parole Project does stand ready to provide mentorship, programming, support services, and ensuring that after he completes that substance abuse program, that he would be required by our organization, First 72 and One Touch Ministry, to complete immediately upon release, that we will hold him accountable to ensure that he goes to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, that he continues whatever care plan that he is assigned by the facility, that he will go through that substance abuse programming through. So long story short, he's going to be in Baton Rouge. Parole Project commits to being eyes and ears and support on him. And the last thing I'll mention is EJI has agreed to pay all fees that Emmitt is owed and to support him in future fees. So I can tell you all the people on this call have had multiple calls with EJI, and they have agreed to support Emmitt as far as those dues are concerned. And I'm available for any questions that this honorable board may have. Thank you.
I have one question. What's EJI?
Equal Justice Initiative. It's the organization.
I'm familiar with them. Thank you. Okay. I didn't know what that meant.
All right, Ms. Kelly, would you like to make a statement?
Sure. Actually, out of respect for the board's time and a long docket that you have today, I had a checklist of a couple of things I wanted to clarify, but Mr. Hundley reviewed all of those. So I would just say that Mr. Hills is surrounded by a large team that is ready to support him on all of the things that he needs in order to be successful moving forward, and that he has been very honest and forthright that one of the root causes of this was a bad relationship with alcohol, and where he is going to go directly from jail. If the board will choose to not revoke his parole today, he'll go directly from Orleans Parish Prison into the Capital Area treatment program. And there's a letter that you all have that we submitted to the board that I hope you have. And then from there, he'll go directly into One Touch Ministries to complete intensive outpatient treatment.
Right, thank you. Ms. Carroll, would you like to make a statement?
There. Thank you. I also want to be very brief, but as one of the attorneys who has worked with Mr. Hills and first met him in 2010 after the Graham decision, which impacted his case, we as attorneys have learned a lot about what we need to do better in supporting our clients upon release. And some of the programs that have now been set up, the First 72 Plus, the Louisiana Parole Project, were not in existence. And so while I recognize that, as Mr. Hills himself said, he messed up, we are asking this board to give him a second chance, but in some ways a first chance with the supports he needs. And I have no doubt that without alcohol being involved, this situation would not have happened. I do want to also mention, and I know that this may be somewhat embarrassing for Mr. Hills, but while he can read and write, he has a third grade ability. And so while he didn't do the right thing in going to Jefferson Parish, he did go to Baton Rouge and report and explain what happened. I would also point out that Mr. Hills admitted his wrongs, but those charges were refused. And the Jefferson Parish DA's office does not refuse charges that they believe are serious enough to warrant aggravated assault. So I just wanted to mention that as well. And I'm confident that with these supports in place, if this board gives him the second chance we are asking for, he will be successful and be able to do all of the things he needs to do to live successfully. And as far as the fees, I did just want to go back to the amount of disability that he was receiving. You know, there were times where his rent was more than even what he was receiving. And so family and others tried to assist him with food. And I understand that's a significant amount, but with EJI's support, he will become current and I believe will be able to meet his future needs. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak on his behalf.
All right, Mr. Hills, would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry that I got all of y'all here today, including myself. Cause things I could have did a whole lot better. But I just let my emotion overtook me and went down the wrong road. So yes, sir, I would like to have a second chance, like Ms. Carol said, a second chance at the first start. I get all this help here, I can't see why I go wrong here. So I would love to try for sure.
All right, thank you. Now prepared to vote?
Yes, I'm ready.
Miss Pearl Wise.
All right, Mr. Hill, I agree with what you said. With all this help, you shouldn't mess up. I agree with you. My vote is to do not revoke and add a special condition to your parole that you complete the substance abuse treatment program and that you go to the One Touch Ministries, and we'll let Parole Project be the central of his services. Would that be all right? And you cooperate with the Louisiana Parole Project and whatever else they have you doing. Is that gonna be a problem?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Marabella.
Mr. Hills, you've been very honest with us today. You attempted to try to rectify some of the issues that were going on. You've got some real structure now set up for you to be able to combat some of the issues that you have. Alcoholism is a very difficult thing to overcome. You've got a lot of support now. You didn't get charged with anything. They dropped the charges against you. My vote as well is going to be to refuse, not revoke, with the conditions as outlined by Ms. Wise. So good luck to you and stick with your structure. You can do it. So good luck to you.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, you have 2 votes do not revoke. Listen, I am very concerned. It is concerning to me, you know, because you're going back out. If we do let you out, we're taking another chance. But you have a lot of support, and so we're gonna, we as a board will be able to sit back and evaluate this. You know, you guys, we appreciate you attorneys and Andrew speaking out, being involved, and look, this is a process that we're all working hard. We all try to make the right decisions, and sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. This will be an evaluation process as well. You guys spoke glowingly and highly, and we'll see where this takes us. I'm going to vote to do not revoke as well, with the same stipulations stated. You'll go to the Pro Project will coordinate, be heavily involved. Obviously, your attorneys will be involved. You'll go to One Touch Ministry. You'll finish all the programs. Looks like you have somebody that's going to pay your fees. The Equal Justice is going to pay your fees. You know, it's a good setup. So if you can't succeed here, then we're going to see you right back, and that's where you'll spend the rest of your life. Do you understand that? So today you have an opportunity. Do not revoke. To follow all the protocols and procedures to get right. Good luck to you.
Thank all of you.
It's 10:03 a.m. We'll adjourn at Orleans Parish. Thank you.
Okay, so just to recap this, he was initially imprisoned for life as a juvenile life for an act that he committed when he was 16 years old, which we will briefly go over. He got out 5 years ago due to, I think it was Act 122, finding it unconstitutional that a 16-year-old, it might have been a different act, but that would be given life. And he seemed to be doing okay up until recently. it's interesting how, and again, he's back in life. If they revoked him, he'd have to serve out his life sentence. We just saw someone who stole an Amazon package off of someone's porch, and the board didn't care. They said, no, you're getting life. Just FYI, we just saw that. I thought, it's interesting how attorneys can say words in the funniest ways. They said it's so important that we give him a second chance, but in some ways it's really a first chance. And it's like, what? No, he had his second chance. That was when he got out. This is his third. He had his chance. He got out. That's his second chance. Now it's his third chance, and somehow the attorney books it into words where it's actually his first chance. You gotta love attorneys. But what he did was scary, man. What he did was scary. And it was 1977, and he was convicted of aggravated, which was up to life imprisonment. And so on January 3rd, 1972, at about 10:30 p.m., the victim and her husband were accosted at the front porch of their home by the defendant, who is 16 years old. So they're outside their home. The 16-year-old comes to them armed with a pistol. He robs the couple, but then he locks the husband in the trunk of their car, so his car. He then forces the wife to drive to several locations in Baton Rouge, and each time he then sexually assaulted her 3 separate times while her husband is in the trunk. After the defendant left the automobile, the victim, the wife, freed her husband and reported the incident to police. The defendant was arrested afterwards, and as a result of the physical description that was broadcasted over the police radio. Then they bring up in the appeal this and that, and this is nothing really to go over. I'll put it in the description. But, and again, thank you, Richard. It's scary. It's scary because that is an awful, terrible crime. Now he was on parole and now you can make your argument and say, well, the DA didn't even prosecute it. It was, as the attorney said, only because he was drinking. He didn't have the proper support. He got away lucky, I guess, with this one. And I guess you really hope that he will continue to stay out of trouble now. This hearing did take place April 2021, and today it is November 2023. So he has stayed out of trouble. What do you think?